And we're live.
Hello.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
Hello. Welcome to
How's
our
everybody doing?
Tuesday
Good.
Live.
I'm seeing if I can first get mad at Facebook before we start this. I'll tell
No,
you.
we're talking about marketing, so we can't get mad at our
Not allowed to get mad at
marketing
Facebook.
platforms.
Oh, nope, I'm pissed. Okay, so
We love Facebook.
hello everybody out there watching and hopefully tuning in to a non specific to coaching themed thingamajigger
Live. That's what we're doing.
live, thank you, but valuable, very valuable tools that we will be sharing, especially for all of those alumni that we have that ask questions about how to get clients. That's what this month will be about. Beyond that, make sure that we share, comment, join in the convo. We want to hear from you. So please join in the conversation, ask your questions. We are live so that you may do that, so that you can do that. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And I think the rest of you guys got the rest of this live. It's been fun. Have a good
Goodbye,
day.
bro. No. So last month, we did our ICF 101. Before that, our Emotions 101. So we're starting to develop a theme as the year goes on. We're talking now Marketing 101.
Coach Marketing 101.
Coach Marketing 101.
Coach specific marketing.
I think all marketing is applicable across many fields, right? How the tools are typically able to cross. However,
we call it Coach Marketing as a marketing strategy.
Kind of, yeah. Also, we are doing the 101 so to help us better catalog these lives so that people can find them and utilize them to their heart's content. So, jobs to be done. What does that even mean?
That's the topic of today's live, is jobs to be done.
Okay. Yes.
I feel like the story is the most important description of jobs to be done. The milkshake story.
The milkshake. Should we play the milkshake story? It's a short video. We could play this milkshake story. I think
That'd be a great idea.
I just want to say I had the pleasure of learning from Clay Christensen in a disruptive strategy class, and it made me cry a few times because of there's the knowledge and the wealth of just who he is as a human being. So it's really where this concept is born from. And I'll do the shortest one here. And I will share my screen. So just give me a moment to set that up. I have to watch it on YouTube. There we go. I just have to flippity floppy couple things. Pause it, make it full screen. Look at that. Now I can share my screen. No, I can't. I moved you guys to the wrong side. Now I can share my screen. Okay, so I'll quickly do this so that we can watch the video. This one here, share. And can you guys see it?
Not yet.
There it is.
Yes.
Okay, and I will make sure you guys can hear it as well.
In a deeper way, McDonald's approached us. And McDonald's is a very sophisticated marketing company. And they have data up the kazoo. And they decided that they needed to innovate in their milkshake product line so that more people will buy milkshakes. And they had data that allowed them to draw a quintessential customer of milkshake customers. And they then would identify this profile of a milkshake customer. It turns out I fit that profile very well. They would then invite people who hit the profile into conference rooms, and they'd ask them questions, trying to understand how could we improve the milkshake so you'll buy more of them. And they'd get very clear feedback. They would then improve the milkshake on those dimensions of performance, and it had no impact on sales or profits whatsoever. So we invited ourselves, and they agreed that we could try to approach it in a very different way. And that is, there's a job out there somewhere that arises in people's life on occasion that causes them to need to buy a milkshake. And we need to understand what the job is that causes people to buy a milkshake. And so one of our colleagues stood in a McDonald's restaurant for 18 hours one day and just took very careful notes on what time did he buy the milkshake, what was he wearing, was he alone or with other people, did he buy other food with it or just the milkshake, and did he eat it in the restaurant or did he go off in the car and take off. It turned out that about half of the milkshakes were sold before 8:30 in the morning. It was the only thing they bought. They were always alone, and they always got in the car and drove off with it. So we came the next morning and confronted and positioned ourselves outside the restaurant so that we could confront these people as they were emerging with their milkshake. And in language that they could better understand, we asked them, "Excuse me, you're creating real trouble for me because can you explain what job arose in your life that caused you to come here at 6:30 in the morning to hire a milkshake to get this? What's the job to be done here?" As they would struggle to answer why they came at 6:30, we'd ask them, well, step back a minute and think about the last situation in which you had the same situation, needing to get the same job done, but you didn't come here to hire a milkshake from McDonald's. What did you hire to get the job done? And one guy said, yeah, I hire donuts to do the job, but I can never hire just one. And another guy said, I do bagels, but boy, they're dry and they're tasteless. And so I have to put cream cheese on and steer the car with my knees while I'm putting cream cheese on. And it turns out, one of them said, I hired a Snickers bar to do the job, but I felt so guilty. I've never hired Snickers again. And one guy said, I never thought about it before, but last Friday I hired a banana to do the job. But it doesn't do the job very well at all. You finish it in less than a minute. But let me tell you, when I go to McDonald's, it is so viscous. It takes me about 23 minutes to suck it up that thin little straw. And I don't care what the ingredients are. All I know is that when 10 o'clock comes, I'm still full. And the job that all of these people were trying to get done was I have a long and boring drive to work. And I needed something that would just keep me engaged with life while I'm driving the car. I'm not hungry yet, but I know I'll be hungry by 10 o'clock. So I also, part of the job is, I need something to eat that would keep myself full when 10 o'clock happens. And that's the job that they're hiring the milkshake to do. And that is, they have a long and boring drive to work. And they needed to add dimensions of it to keep them engaged with life. And from the customer's point of view, the milkshake does the job better than any of the competitors. And the competitors from the customer's point of view are not just in the product category, but they draw from bananas and donuts and bagels, as I mentioned. And so when you think about how big the job is, you have to look at who the real competitors are from the customer's point of view. And they come from very different categories. How big is the market for milkshakes? It's a serious question. Well, who knows? But the size of the milkshake just isn't the sum of the milkshakes of Burger King, Wendy's, and McDonald's milkshakes, but it includes, from the customer's point of view, all of those other attributes of bananas, donuts, bagels, Snickers bars. And when they implemented this insight in the portions of America where they developed it, it turned out to be seven times bigger than they had thought when it was marketed only by the attributes. And most markets are characterized that way. There is a lot of non-consumption, and you can understand how to improve it only if you understand the job to be done.
Milkshake video. Everyone muted themselves. Brooke, you're also muted still.
Infamous milkshake story. I think I've even told Jen the milkshake story
Yes.
to some degree before. Yeah.
Yep.
Now you got it from the source now. So
Good story. It's a very good story.
but I mean, we're talking about milkshakes, but really we can apply this to life coaching, can we not? Yeah.
Yes.
I see heads nodding.
Yeah.
So we understand through that sort of illustration what a job to be done is. You're hiring something, or you're finding a solution to whatever job that needs to happen. So I want to ask, when somebody hires a life coach, what is the job to be done?
There's a lot.
I've got my own sneaking suspicion, which is very heavily biased in the fact that I also do project management, so like I'm looking at it through that lens. My suspicion is that the job to be done is that people are not project managers. They're not really good at understanding complicated or larger, longer term goals. Am I really loud?
No,
I'll
you're
stop
normal.
speaking so
Just
loud.
me. Just me. I'll turn him down.
So what was I saying? So like short-term goals, really short-term things people can kind of wrap their heads around, but longer-term goals that require a lot of planning, maybe emotional anchoring, dedication. People aren't really trained to sort of think that way. And the job to be done is that they need some sort of solution to get these longer-term goals done. And we talk about, like in life coaching, it usually takes about, 3 months to see the results of life coaching, which is quite a long time to try to get any goal done.
Well, they
Most
they start seeing the results sooner, but yeah.
I think.
Or to develop a habit.
Yeah.
I think I think that yes, that's true. I think it's also very generalized, kind of. It's a big general overview of yes, why we hire life coaches. Absolutely.
But considering the other solutions, though, so what other things could someone do other than hiring a life coach to maybe accomplish goals?
A mentor or consultant, someone who's giving them clear guidance, direction, advice.
A therapist,
I
a CRM tool, like a customer relationship, something that gives them like a list and dings them with things to do. There's apps, I'm sure.
A personal assistant, maybe, like someone you literally hire to do these things for you.
I mean, this is very generalized too. So if we're gonna like narrow this down with some specificity too, like if we take, let's take Jen. Jen, we know Jen's building a business, right? A coaching business right now. So what is your customer's job to be done?
Well, I think in terms of what was my job to be done when I hired a coach, that's really the person I know how to speak to because I'm her. So to answer that question, I hired a coach because I had experienced a lot of transformation and healing in my life, but there was still something missing and I couldn't figure it out on my own. And I needed support in figuring it out. And so ultimately, it wasn't necessarily something that I was looking for. I had been hiring a lot of self-help books to try to, do the job that I was looking for, but those were not working. And then when I met a coach who really, really spoke to me in terms of like, just the person, I hired that person to do the job of the support and helping me do the self-exploration that I needed to find some missing piece in my life.
So you needed support to find a missing something.
Right. I mean, I was just not happy in what I was doing. I was ready to move into a more purposeful life.
Okay.
What was it about a coach that stood out as opposed to like other maybe support professionals such as a counselor or therapist or spiritual?
This coach had her own transformation story, and so there was a safety that I felt in. She's been, where I potentially have been before emotionally, and I felt safe to, I had been to therapy a lot in the past, and I never liked the feeling of being in the space with an expert, and I was broken and needed to be fixed. And this coach, her energy was that I was not broken and I was whole, and she was going to help bring that out of me. And no one had ever talked to me like that before.
I think we're starting to reveal a little bit more of the job to be done. If you notice this as she's sharing, I heard her say, I had felt other things made me feel broken. Other things made me feel like I needed to be fixed. In this, I felt like I was already whole. So I would say that partially goes into this job to be done. You needed support, but you needed support in a way that you already felt whole, that you didn't feel like you needed to be fixed.
Yes.
And so I think if you keep sharing, we're going to start peeling back these layers and really starting to define the job to be done and the nature of the job to be done and in depth, much like the milkshake. There's lots of other things you can hire. So, and it's interesting. We find this out by exploring other things that she could have done, other options, other solutions, right? And we start to reveal by exploring those other solutions why coaching and her coach was the best solution for her. So what other solutions, why weren't the self-help books working?
I needed to be seen in what I was going through, and the book wasn't seeing me.
Okay. So yeah,
really simple.
You needed another human being. You needed another human being, and a book wasn't enough. So you needed to feel whole by another human being and supported by another human being. So that you could then achieve goals and find that missing piece, right? Are there any other things you explored? Any other?
I mean, I definitely saw mentors out there, and I just didn't want to be told what to do. I actually trusted that I had the wisdom within me. I just couldn't figure out how to pull it out of me.
So that was an important piece too. You didn't want to be told what to do.
Correct.
So in this job, so when doing the job, you didn't want to be told what to do. You wanted to be in a space where you could find the answers yourself, within yourself. So powerful when you start to look at this in a different lens. Because I think what do most of our coaches, students say? They're defining, well, a client wants to hire me for transformation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But look at how we're peeling layers back with Jen here. No, she's hiring support. She's hiring being seen. She's hiring being independent and capable of doing it herself and finding the answers herself. She's she is hiring so that she can find, that missing piece. But all of these little elements are very, very important. And it's sort of exploring this through a different lens, and maybe one we don't always explore.
Jerome said something really good in the chat that I want to call out. Accountability. I actually wasn't necessarily looking for accountability from another person. I was looking to figure out how to become accountable to myself.
Oh. Okay. So that was part of the job to be done.
Yeah.
Well,
yes. Is
Very
someone that would hold me in that goal and not, be like, okay, I'm going to check in every week about what we talked about, which, is the job of a coach many times. But I made it very clear that I wanted space to have my goals evolve as I explored and, figured stuff out. And that coach gave me that space.
I have a question. How did you know that that's what you wanted?
Because I knew that I was the only thing in my way from living a more purposeful life where I was in more alignment. I just knew it. I was the problem and I was the solution. I needed somebody else to see that.
Yes, Brooke, I'm with you.
I feel like I make Anthony uncomfortable.
Awesome.
No, I'm thinking very hard about
Okay.
the job to be done.
But yeah, go ahead, Anthony. Or are you thinking?
I'm still sort of digging through my thoughts here. Jen, for what you're describing, it sounds like what you are hiring to get the job to be done. Because it fulfills certain, things that you would like from it. In the same way that the milkshake guy, which if you're new to this, to our live, I'm not going to give any more context. I'll just say milkshake guy. And you can sort of think about that. But in terms of that example, to put it very simply in one sentence, the job to be done was that they needed something to eat during their car ride to work. And there were things that could get the job done, didn't work, but there was the best fit. Your job to be done, Jen, if you could describe it in one sentence, how would you describe that?
Well, so the external job to be done was to change the trajectory of my career. That was the external job. The internal job was the limiting beliefs, was bringing all of my own stuff to the surface.
So, but that is, I think we're diving into solutions.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is peel apart those sort of two things. The job to be done was the career. How you did that, and the solution, what you hired essentially a coach to do, was to do the internal work. And that was the best fit. Now, if we're looking at the job to be done, was the job fulfilled by the coach?
Absolutely, and then some.
Okay.
Also, too, I want to mention too. This we're really talking about earlier, like the moment right before. But truthfully, if we go back in time, there are events that have happened in Jen's life that sort of sent her down this road. That created this, and that might be she's miserable at her job. That might be a number of other things that send her tumbling towards. And 18 months, 36 months later, she hires a coach, right? Yeah. But she's done a lot between this problem sort of awareness. I've got this something going on. And there's a lot that happens boom, 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 through that. And so part of this too is going all the way back to that very beginning moment when she started down. Maybe it was a path of change. Maybe it was a path of realizing I need something to be different. So if you go all the way back to that moment, can you think about what that moment might be?
I'm just going to say what's coming up for me. This is so random sounding, but there was a moment in my previous job where I realized that I was in that job for me, like for me to learn lessons and like go through stuff that were going to carry me into whatever I did next. Like I just knew it. And I started just like researching like narcissism and like figuring out all this stuff that was really making me feel like a victim at this job. And it changed the trajectory for me. I started feeling more empowered and I started going, okay, this has purpose. And then I started seeking out more purpose. And then that was where I kind of met coaches and coaches came into my life, and all of a sudden I realized, hey, these might be the people that I've been looking for a really long time.
So, and I want to go back. You said you were in a space where you were feeling like a victim, right? And then you started to hire things to sort of maybe it wasn't with the intention of for you not to feel like a victim, but you started to look at wanting to change something, right? I'm filling in blanks for you, and I shouldn't be. But so if we go back to that feeling like a victim, what did you want to accomplish when you started to search for things?
I wanted to not feel like a victim. I wanted to not feel disempowered. I wanted to be able to recognize meaning and purpose in what I was going through, exactly where I was, without running from it. I didn't want to just leave. I wanted to learn the lesson that I was being presented with, even if it was super painful and made me feel awful sometimes.
I mean, that sounds like a pretty accurate summation of the job to be done in this respect with a coach. And that could apply to things outside of, career. That sentence could be applied to anybody who's like, in a relationship or marriage or switching jobs, all the other aspects of life coaching, on that sort of life coaching wheel we use, is the desire for change with the understanding that I'm not being rehabilitated. I am trying to make the change because I have the power to change.
Yes.
I'm not broken. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that being,
hold on one second. There is like, so, and I think this resonates with me, and I think it resonates with anybody who's in a coaching space, and maybe apart from organizational coaching a bit, or executive coaching, but I think it can still work in those spaces too. But there is a feeling of, I want to make I want to move forward. Like I'm ready to take action. I'm ready to switch from digging up what's wrong with me, the things that I, all being in that therapy, that every life is happening to me. I can't do this space, what's wrong with me space, into a space of, no, it's time for me to move forward. It's time for me to become somebody who's doing things, who's accomplishing things, who's taking steps. And I think that that's something that really resonates in the coaching space. Not that we don't take steps in therapy, we don't do things in other spaces, but I think that there is just this common thread of, no, I want to feel like I've accomplished something when I hire a coach. Am I wrong there?
No, definitely. I wanted to accomplish a lot, and I was actually scared of how much I wanted to accomplish, because if I accomplished all that, my whole life would change.
But that's amazing though. Like it's not, we can say, what is the end result, Jen? Where are you now? Once you've hired the coach, what did you accomplish with that coach?
So I have a completely different relationship with myself from coaching. I have a completely different mindset. I have a completely different inner dialogue that happens. My self-talk, all of that, boom, changed. So my whole inner world has changed. I feel more grounded and confident in who I am. And I don't question myself as much anymore. And I don't worry about all these little flaws and all these weird things about me. I'm like proud of them now. That came from coaching. That came from working with someone who believed that I was already whole rather than I was broken and needed to be fixed.
So that though, so like you have all of these results and we can sell all of these results. But the truth of the matter is you hired a coach. The job to be done was, I want support so that I can be, and I want to feel whole and not broken when I have the support, so that then I can accomplish things. I can fill in those blanks. I can get those results. The results came from you and not from the coach.
Correct.
So the job to be done is not the results. The job to be done is what you just said it is. And I think that I'm highlighting this because I think that's an important differentiation to bring up with our students, right? Because our students, we all have a propensity to sell process, to sell benefits. But when we step into the space of selling the job to be done, we really start to explore who it is that Jen hired and why and what she needed to do that. And it's different than it's different than Jen, who she is today and the results she got, because Jen created the results for herself. Those were a very personal experience, right, for her. So I think that this offers a new way to sort of approach your how you create a product for your client and how you speak about your product for a client. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
The external is that I did change the trajectory of my career, right? That's wonderful. But all of the internal changes that have occurred, that is the kind of stuff that is like absolutely thrilling, because I get to live the rest of my life with this stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter what I do anymore. I feel so good on the inside. And that came from coaching.
Which,
I mean,
that's,
it matters that what I'm doing is in alignment with, who I want to serve, and I'm doing that. But truthfully, I have the capacity to deal with hard times. I have the capacity to deal with, like, I don't know, say the market tanks and I lose my job or something. I have the capacity to deal with that. That's the kind of life-changing stuff that coaching really gave me.
Which, by the way, the market is tanking. So, Jen, I'm sorry. So here's a question. So what we're conducting is what is called a job to be done interview. Essentially, we're interviewing Jen to sort of really get to the nuts and bolts of the job to be done for why she hired a coach. What I wanted to ask, though, is what did you know prior? Because you said you listed all these amazing benefits and these internal changes that you went through. Did you, before hiring the coach, did you anticipate those changes were going to happen? Or did you, after having been coached, learned about all these benefits that you weren't aware of prior to?
Kind of, sort of. So I was very much attracted to this coach's own transformation story and the vulnerability that this coach, expressed. And I resonated personally with this person's story. So to me, I just saw potential when I thought about working with this coach. I didn't know exactly what, I didn't know the specifics. I did a 6-month package, or I'm sorry, not 6 months. I did a 6-week package at a pretty low price. And after those 6 weeks, I bought a year, because those 6 weeks showed me how valuable it was going to be for me if I did it for a year.
It almost makes me, and Brooke might contradict me, I'm taking this opportunity to say something controversial while she's gone. It sounds like in that scenario, the job to be done is hope as well, where you need an example shown to you that there is hope of change, there is hope of some sort of transformation, and you were shown an example of that, and you took the 6 weeks to, dig a bit deeper, and then after you saw that this could be done, there's a possibility of change, you went, full bore the rest of the way.
I think
I
there's
wanted,
as well.
yeah. So I wanted to ask Lisa, because we've been focusing on Jen, and I want to take it to maybe the bit more general, since Lisa, you've coached a lot of couples before. With what we've talked about, the job to be done, have you noticed that there's a job to be done for couples prior to coaching with you?
So usually one person feels, I hear an echo. Am I okay so far talking?
Yeah.
One person feels like the job to be done is they as a couple need to be fixed, even though that's not what we do, right? As coaching, they feel like either they or their partner needs to have a different way of thinking. So the job to be done is basically they often want to have that relationship they think they had when they first got going, the romance, the connection that isn't tainted with all the arguments. So the job to be done, I guess, is reconnection or connection.
So then when working with you as a couples coach, why is it that hiring you was the best solution for them? Like the clients afterwards who, loved working with you and gave you 5-star reviews, what was it about working with a coach that was the perfect hire?
My first thing to say is it was equal grounding. Sometimes they came in thinking, one being dragged in thinking that they were going to be not seen and unheard because their partner had told them that they don't have the right story, but the equal ground is that they were both seen and they were both heard. Did that answer your question? Not sure.
No, it did, because what it tells me is that, and at least in your situation, there's two people rather than one person, and it's sort of unequal.
Yeah.
One person is, hiring you for one thing where the other person might be expecting something else.
Yeah.
The job to be done in that, I'm going to say secondary partner who may be a little bit more reluctant, you were able to be hired to have them seen.
Yeah.
And they were, hopefully the coaching sessions were successful because of that.
Mm-hmm.
The partner who might have been more reluctant was seen.
I also want to note there's a secondary dimension to jobs to be done. So we've talked about, we're sort of, and it's hard. There's a lot to this to sort of take apart in just an hour. But there's the second part of job to be done is also, there's some job dimensions to consider about the job that will make it the best, your solution's the best option, right? So the first thing which we've been discussing is to understand, like, what is the minimal functionality required to do the job? So like what has to happen for you to be able to do the job? Like, what is that? So what is the minimum thing? And so in this example, it's that maybe for Jen, it's that she needs to feel whole. She needs to be supported, and she needs to have another human being present so that she can be accountable, right? Or so that she can be accountable to herself. So that's like the minimum, we'll say. But the secondary is we can start to is what the financial requirement. So if you start to consider these job dimensions, what it does when you're looking at the job is helps you to create a product that's sort of irresistible to your client. So that's when we bring these in. And so the next step is, so what are the guardrails to make it feasible? And so for Jen, she did the 6-week option first, I'm sure, because it was less expensive. She was not going to have to buy into something without testing it first and trying it first. So her coach is aware of financial guardrails and also aware she could do the job so well that after that 6 weeks, she could probably convert her to a high, so that Jen would pay more. But I'm certain that her coach considered. I know in Lisa's case, those clients often considered financial guardrails because couples counseling can be just insanely expensive, and often you can offer coaching at with a package at a cost that's maybe a more tangible, right? The next sort of step in this is personal identity, which is how does the product serve or act as a symbol to represent what I believe about the world? So it's essentially, we talk about personal identity. I think what can come in, it kind of ties in with social appearance as well, but I guess it's a little different. So for personal identity, it's can I see myself hiring a coach? Am I somebody that this aligns with who I am as a human being? I know Anthony, hi, when he first heard about coaching, probably how would he have felt about hiring a coach in relation to your personal identity?
This is a question directed to me.
Yes.
Waste of money. That's what I would have thought.
No, we're talking about how would it make you feel about your personal identity. So if
my personal identity, that would have made me feel incapable. I mean, this is sort of wrapped up in the same feelings I have personally. I'm not saying that this is a general observation about the status of these industries, but it made me feel the same way I felt about therapy, in which it would make me feel like I'm not capable on my own to do whatever goal that I have in mind. Which I know for a fact, there's plenty of goals that I'm not capable of doing on my own because I haven't done them yet, even though I've said that I would do them. By the time, not knowing any of this, my personal identity was sort of the same way that maybe Jen thought about therapy as well, where it's like there's something wrong with me and it's fixing something, which is not how I wanted my personal identity to be. My personal identity is more, I guess, maybe type A, where it's just like I want something, I go get it, and I figure out the best and most efficient way to do this.
These are good things to know, though. Like, so we know when relations to Jen's personal identity, she didn't want to feel broken, right? She didn't want to feel like something had to be fixed, and so that is important when she hired somebody to do this job. That element was tapping into her personal identity, and that became important. So knowing these things about our clients is important. And we only have a few minutes left. The last one, I think there's one more after this, but no, this is the last one, is social appearance. How will it look out there in the world when I hire a coach for this job? How am I going to feel telling other people I hired a coach? And we think, for all of us who are more involved in the coaching space, no biggie. But when you look at like organizations, if we talk about police officers, if we talk about even our armed forces and things like that, there's often a stigma attached to asking for help or hiring somebody for help. It's gotten better, but that is all based in this social appearance element, right? So why do you think we have drive-throughs? Not only for the convenience, but also because I don't want somebody to know I just went to eat a whole bunch of fast food if I can help it. If I'm somebody who it's important to me that I eat healthy, and I'm going to be sort of ashamed, or there's this social, or people who buy brand names. Well, I buy brand names. I wear my brand name, not me personally. I don't do this, but I have a brand name. I have a brand name purse. Really, any purse can serve functionally to do what I needed to do, but I'm buying that brand name because I'm the social appearance of who I am, who I appear to be to others, right? And that becomes an important part of this. And how can a coach utilize that, or how does that fall in to this coaching space?
I'm gonna give my 2 cents on this.
Well, we're talking about value, how someone perceives a value. Is that what you're saying?
No, we're saying social appearance. So it says, how will others view me while I use this product or service? How will others view me while I am working with a coach?
Okay.
You do not have to call your services coaching as a coach.
True. Yeah.
What you offer strictly in a session is coaching. The skill set you possess is that of a coach. The accreditation or certification is that of a coach. You can call whatever it is that you're doing whatever you want, though, and aside from like therapy. Let's be very clear on that. But if the population you want to serve may have a stigma against seeing a coach or a life coach, call yourself something else. We very much encourage at CLCI to niche yourself down and
Maybe
not
it's
to be
not even-
just a life coach.
Maybe it's not that you're offering what you're saying is the job to be done is that they're hiring a coach because they want to be coached. It's most likely that the job to be done is something else entirely. So let's, for example, say that it's you've got somebody who has quit their job and they want to transition into a new profession. They want to, start their. I'm thinking of example is I'm in Pilates training. I've got a woman there who just retired from LAPD, and she now wants to teach Pilates. And so she's done being a detective and she's making this transition. So she might hire a coach. The job to be done there would be to assist her in starting her business. So you may not have to call it, what I do is I'm a business coach. I'm going to coach you to your business. No, I'm going to assist you in starting your new business, finding the way to do that, finding the goals to do that. Right. There are some hurdles perhaps in certain circles where you have to think about how is the people around this person going to affect whether or not they buy my service. And so if you can make it the most palatable for them, that is very helpful in all of these, in the functional requirements, in the financial requirement, in the personal identity. If you can tap into what your client wants in each of those sections, you create a product that is tailored to your client and their needs.
Brooke, I want to ask a quick question as well that you would probably know the answer to. If I called myself a consultant as my business, but I only ever did coaching, could I still be called a consultant?
Yeah.
Like on paper?
I think on paper. I think on paper is neither here nor there, truthfully. Because, again, nobody's hiring a life coach because they're a life coach. We're hiring a life coach to help us do a job. So who you are, what you call yourself in this lens, under this lens, is sort of irrelevant to me. If you can
Well, it might be relevant to my clients.
let me finish.
Go on.
If you can assist me in doing whatever job I need done, and do so in a way that for me, your client is functional, agrees with me functionally, agrees with me financially, is in line with my personal identity, and is also makes me look good to the rest of the world while I'm doing it. Right? All four of those things. Mm-hmm. I don't care what you call yourself. You're now offering something that you're helping me solve a solution, and doing so in a way that is best for me, whoever that client is. It's how you create a product that is irresistible to clients.
Can I add something? Because I really want to hear your opinion on this, Brooke.
Yeah.
When I hired a coach for a year, there was not a single person in my circle of people that thought that I was spending money wisely. Every single person said, okay,
crazy.
They didn't get it at all. And so there was this fear of, what if I don't get results and I look stupid for spending all this money? But like, to be honest with you, that fear was quieted by the coaching container, by the space every week that I would meet with the coach in, and the magic that we were creating. Every week it was like, no, I don't need to be scared of what's going to happen. In fact, I need to be excited about what's going to happen. These people aren't even going to wait till they see the results that I get. And truthfully, they still are like, well, it was a lot of money, but yeah, we get it.
Right? Oh, that's fair.
Well, they're able to say that because they're not in your shoes. But that is kind of a funny idea that, like, part of your marketing as a coach could be like, listen, if you don't do this, you're gonna look like a freaking idiot.
No, but I also think, but what her coach knew that, again, that 6-week offering, that also, I would say whatever her coach gave her without her having to spend money, there's probably, I'm sure Jen made a connection to her coach prior to ever putting money in her hand.
Yeah.
And so all of that free stuff, the stuff Jen didn't pay for, made it okay for her to spend a little money that 6 week and be okay with people balking and saying what they're going to say. But that didn't come just from her client or Jen doing a Google search and finding her and going, okay, I'm just going to spend the 6 weeks. That came from trust being established through a whole bunch of other stuff. I am guessing here.
Yes,
right?
you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm.
And that's where all of that content, that free stuff, that building out, that's where all that comes in, and it becomes very important to help you sort of assist in jumping over those hurdles of social appearance, maybe when it's not ideal, maybe a financial requirement, when we do care about what we spend our money on. We want to make sure we get results. So all of these little things assisted Jen in her coach creating a product that Jen ended up being very satisfied with, and also not only being very satisfied with was something that she was okay with spending money on and hiring her to do. And she'd spent money on other things that didn't work too. Don't think about that. There are other things that she spent money on in an attempt to do this job.
And a lot of time too, like a lot of time just spinning my wheels, just running on that hamster wheel, like never really getting anywhere.
That's
So
important too. Yeah.
Because
So
it formulated what you knew you didn't want to repeat.
Yes.
And so when you experienced your first coaching session, my guess is that you felt like something different was occurring.
1,000%. I had never experienced that coaching space where, you know, I was being seen without judgment, with the view of I'm not broken, like this person, you know, I felt that coach believed in me in a way that was like, oh, I gotta believe in me, right? I don't want this coach to believe in me and me not believe in myself. I'm gonna believe it. It was like, I don't know how to explain it. I was elevated because of the coach's energy and presence and the coaching space that they provided.
That
All
sounds
right.
like a good place to wrap it up then.
Wait, could I send us off with a question?
Yes.
Yes,
There is a
please.
caveat though. We all have to have different answers. What makes CLCI irresistible when it comes to our classes?
Oh,
Fast, 3-day, low price,
Not gonna lie.
certified life coach.
All right. I said everyone has to have different answers, not all.
Oh
at
shit!
once.
Sorry.
It's okay.
okay. Round table.
Anthony's knocking him out the park, though.
Okay, I'll just.
What I was thinking.
My thought is our training is so vastly amazing, but they don't know that before. So you're asking about before they come in, before
Yes.
they get to
And
know
our marketing,
our
what makes
different
us irresistible.
training,
Yeah.
facilitators. So what?
Lisa, I would say you can sort of say that people do. We have amazing testimonials.
Yeah.
And we have a record. We have a record that shows, based on our clientele and our customers and being in business as long as we have, that what we offer is a good product, a fantastic something that people can trust. Is good.
Yeah.
So that's there's more to it than that, but that's a place.
There's a variety of people that have come through with a variety of excuse me, licensures, no licensures, education, update. I mean, 3 doctorates and people with no doctorates, you know, layman's education, all, you know, street smarts educate, and everybody walks away with an amazing experience. So, yeah.
All right. Well, Lisa answered that beautifully, so we should go ahead and wrap it up because I don't think anyone's going to top that.
Well, no, we can each go. We think we can each do one really quick, right? Anthony?
Let's go.
I already did. I already
you-
went.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, pick one.
Oh. Well, in that case, the job to be done and what sets us apart is that we're fast. We see what needs to be done in terms of somebody who needs to be an accredited coach with the ICF, 60 hours. We do that in 2-3 day classes. We do it in the absolute minimum amount of time with the maximum amount of return on investment. And that's the job that is to be done, and we do it the most efficiently, better than everyone else.
And that's important because people have a lot of our clientele. They don't have 6 months sometimes to get the job done. They don't have or if they're a company and they want to get 20, 40, 60 people through, they can't have their 20, 40, 60 people training for 3 months, 6 months. They need them trained in a shorter
Like,
amount of time.
could you imagine the milkshake example if the straw was like this size and it took 10 hours to drink your damn shake?
Right.
That's what those other schools are like. We're nice big straw for people who want
Boba
the
straw.
same amount of shake in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
But at the same time versus same time, it's the same product, right?
Mhm.
You're going to get the same amount of hours
16 ounces
in
of
the
milkshake.
longer time
same.
frame than the, what's the word I'm looking for? Immersion.
Jen, you're next.
Oh,
Thank you.
the job to be done is connection, in my opinion. What I was looking for in the classes, and I was blown away. The facilitators and the class technicians, the people holding space in these classes are phenomenal. And then the students in the classes themselves, my God, I mean, what an amazing group of people that we gather into these virtual spaces. I'm blown away by the connection that was created in these rooms. And the 3 days, I mean, wow, it felt way longer than 3 days because of how much was just put in there. I mean, between the content and the connection, I was blown away when I took the class. I did not expect it, and I loved it.
Jerome?
For me, I think it would be probably transparency. I can say this for probably anyone speaking on the phone in the office. We're not really, I'm never selling when I'm on the phone. I'm not reading from a script. I'm letting you know what our services are. And I think we have enough results to back that up to the point where I don't have to feel like I'm kind of like, when people are asking questions about other programs, I'll let them know, I'm not 100% sure about these other programs, but what I do know is our program is amazing. And this is why. These are the things that you get out of it. And I feel every call when it comes to a sales call is successful because all we've really got to do is let everybody know exactly what goes on here. And with that transparency, I think that makes us an irresistible product and program for people to be a part of.
Yeah.
Last but not least.
The product sells itself.
Yeah.
We don't have to sell it. And
Last-
people feel that on the other end of the call. Yeah.
Last but not least, I would say that we are a diverse group of human beings with varied backgrounds, opinions. Everybody who works here is a different human being, and I think that we celebrate that, and that comes through in this. I mean, not only here, but in what we offer, because you're not just getting a single opinion or a single experience. You're getting a really a more realistic picture of what the world is, which is a whole different kinds of people, different kinds of coaches, different kinds of backgrounds and experiences, and just like a whole world of different human beings, both represented here at the company and in our students as well. So I think that's important. It comes through. So.
And with that, we will sign off. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, take our 3-day classes, become a certified life coach, and figure out the job to be done for your client. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys next week.